Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Yes, everything is breaking news over here at Unique Mecca Audio because it's the first time you're going to hear it from this perspective. Diddy going to trial. They brought Cassie in with her getting her whooped. So we understand that he's, a woman beater. They proved that. All right. So that now they bringing in all these drugs, right? And we're going to show you all that. They have the drugs. But my question to you that you should be asking yourself, and that's why you tap into Unique Mecca Audio, whatever my name is, you know what I mean? Now, where we at with this is, right, where do we go from here? He's not charged with whooping Cassie, and he's not charged with drugs. Let's get this show going. We're going to figure it out. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. We're going to figure it out. Today's Unique Mecca Audio, man. P. Diddy on trial. I just wanted to show you that so you understand. And, check it out, Rob. Check it out.
Former assistants, David James, testified that he used to pick up drugs for Combs and friends of Combs. James said that he once saw Diddy take a pill of ecstasy that had a former president's face on it. The prosecutor asked which president, and James replied, Obama.
Whoa.
Drugs have become a key part of the government's case against Sean.
But is Sean Diddy Combs charged with drugs? That's the question. Put it in the comments. Somebody let me know. I'm a little confused.
On Diddy Combs. This week, we received dozens of images of the evidence that federal agents took from Diddy's Miami mansion during a raid in March of 2024. Here's a picture of some of the evidence laying on top of a Gucci designer bag. We do have to blur a lot of these pictures because of the rules of YouTube and drug use. So I'll describe for you what you're looking at here. A Ziploc bag with several different kinds of pills. Some of them are pink, some of them are white, some of them are blue, and then there's also a rolled up $100 bill. And another
Hey, yo, so don't that sound like the Matrix? Like, what type of actual Matrix do you want to go down? Do you want the blue pill? Or do you want the pink pill? How would you like to feel? And put in the comments, how do you think the blue pill will make you feel? Right now, how do you think the blue pill will? How do you think the pink will? How would you like it to make you feel? All right.
Plastic bag, we saw more pills. These are two separate kinds. Some are white, some are yellow. Then you have the orange and pink pills that you see here. That is MDMA, according to the Homeland Security Special.
What does MDMA do? Somebody put it in the comments for me, please.
Agent who testified this week about what they found in Miami. Now, not only did David James say Diddy had a pill of ecstasy shaped like President Obama, he allegedly did a lot of drugs. James said that Combs would take Percocets every day, and then he would also at night continue to take drugs, often switching to X and MDMA. Then,
see right there, right? That's where me, if I was a defense lawyer, I learned this in psychology, right? Stop putting my morals and principles on other people so I could only speak for me, myself, and I. Now, me, myself, I hear this. I hear a man saying he picked up drugs for Diddy. He had the pink pill, the blue pill. He had the MDMA. He had all this stuff going on. But Diddy's not charged with that. So why is this going on? Pause. They're going to explain that. That's what they do. They're the professionals. I got caught. I lost. I couldn't keep up. So they're the professionals. We got that. But me, from a criminal point of view, and knowing that it's a yin and a yang with everything, including in law, that's why Lady Justice is blindfolded, right? So pay attention to me here. So now you got Lady Justice over here, and they got this blue pill, they got this pink pill. He's not charged with none of that. But what about this witness? Was he facing a drug charge, being that he did all of this possessing of this drug? Is it a deal on the table to eliminate the drug charge and the possible jail time if this defendant testifies in a manner that we need him to or don't need him to? Because right now, who's he working for but the person that holds his freedom in their hands? Now, he done picked up all these drugs. He's not charged. Hold on, they doing a lot of drug dealing and none of them doing no time or even getting charged for it. When I did 26 years out of my life. So I think that that's a legitimate question to ask is why Diddy's not charged with drugs and why is this witness that picked up the drugs and expressing how he was ordered by Diddy to distribute the drugs. Well, to pass out, to disperse the drugs. You can't say distribute because all they could charge Diddy with if they chose to charge him would be possession of drugs because he was going to self-consume it. It'll be distribution if he was selling it back. Billionaire, we know he ain't selling it back. So that's where we at. So do you think that this witness is what I want to know? Do you think that this witness right here has been charged or been threatened with being charged with this drug dealing and drug handling and drug possession, not distribution, possession, if he didn't testify in the manner that he's testifying in? Tell me I'm not a good lawyer. Tell me I ain't got this down packed. Let's go back. We just creating content, having fun. Nobody take it personal. And just like, hold on, let's ride. Just like the Papoose joint that I did yesterday, right? All I was doing was trying to reach out to a man, to a brother that I know stand behind Black love and that has knowledge of self to let him know that he had another G-O-D here that can talk to him and understand where he's coming from. That video wasn't meant to disrespect Papoose. I just gave it gangster, how we look at it from the street. And I'm going to show you how real and how gangster this channel is. If Papoose himself or Remy Ma have an issue with the video that I did on them, I myself will remove it and self-apologize, because this was just to reach out to two of our younger people to let them know that they need to slow down. Pap, you know that Remy's angry. She has her reasons for being angry. You might not see those reasons because you're not seeing things empathetically from how she's feeling and interpreted your actions. We all go through that in life, but we don't go on social media and air it out, because then not only is there no recollection to bring it back, but now your business is out there forever that y'all went through these things and these things happened under your roofs and with your children. The world know this now, and this is what I'm trying to get y'all to put a pause and stop and know that this social media, internet world is forever and a day. Because even when you die, that information is still out there. And please, my young brother and sister, let's stop it. Let's get back to the Diddy ride. I just had to say that because a few people in the comments, oh, yeah, you're not against it. No, I'm not against. Listen, I'm against the way I felt he handled the situation, because no disrespect to Remy Ma, but if that was my woman, and from the things that Papoose shared, if they're true, because Remy has her side, if they're true, I just express how I would have handled it. I would have threw that chick out. Get out my house. You know what I mean? And no disrespect, Remy, I would have let you know if you got an issue, you can get out with her. You know you can stay. This is our house. But if you got an issue with me making this move as a man, you can get your ass out of here too. That's, I mean, you know, that's why I say don't get involved in the street, because you got to be hardline like that and just stand on what you know is right, your morals, principles, and your honor. Because Pap accused her of some real serious things, man, that I don't want to get into. But, you know, like I said, if they felt anything was offensive in that video, I'll take it down. That ain't what we do over here, Unique Mecca Audio. All you got to do is say, yo, I ain't like that. And you know what I mean? We talk about it. If you want it down, it's down. That's how real this is, because a lot of young people going through what y'all are going through. So I just use your situation as a, you know, teaching point. And that's it. It's not for a disrespectful point. And if you feel that way, I'll say it again. I'll take it down. All right.
There's the small alleged container of cocaine that the government found with a rolled up dollar bill next to it. The cocaine with a label that says DBL wash. The drug.
Whoa. You're trying to say DBL wash? BBL. You think they got to do something with body parts? What was it? What was it? Giving them tits and ass in there too? Come on.
Are important to talk about because Cassie Ventura testified that she would do certain drugs with Combs during those so-called freak-offs, the hour-long sex parties that involved escorts and drugs. Obama wasn't the only presidential name brought up in this trial. Bill Clinton's name was also dropped, but again, not in a way you might expect. It's not that he's being accused of doing anything that Combs is accused of in this trial, even though Diddy does have a history of being an advocate for the Democratic Party and being politically active. But in this case, Clinton's name came up because of a male escort named Sheree Hayes, who testified. He's one of the people allegedly hired to take part in the freak-offs. The name that he goes by in his line of work, by the way, the Punisher. Now, during his testimony, he was asked by the defense if he did drugs during the freak-offs, and he said he did not. He did say that marijuana was often there, and he would be offered marijuana, but he's typically not a marijuana smoker, saying, quote, "I call it a Bill Clinton. I do recall being handed marijuana. I act like I take a puff. I don't inhale." He was referencing Clinton's 1992 remarks about whether he smoked pot, to which the former president said that he did not inhale. The third presidential name that came up in the transcript is Trump. During former assistant David James' testimony, he said that Diddy's favorite hotel in New York was the Trump International. James also said that Diddy would book under the name Frank Black, which is kind of an ode to the notorious B.I.G., who used to go by the name Frank White, by the way.
Do you see this? And then y'all complaining how, let's ride, at how we create content. Just because they allegedly had that freak off at Trump Towers, they bring Trump's name up in it. This is our great president. Why would that need to be in this program? But they do it and it's nothing. But then I tell how Unique would handle a situation, and I get people saying, Unique, you too hard. That's the point. We don't need you this hard. See, people can't understand where I'm coming from if they're not from where I come from. Believe me, my real people understand. Papoose understand. Remy Ma understand. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of my viewers understand. But look at this. Because it was at Trump Towers that they had it. Now they bringing his name up. And then a dude said that he did a Bill Clinton that, he inhaled, but, he smoked, but he didn't inhale. He puffed, but he didn't inhale. Pause. Come on, look at this, man.
Now, many of the so-called freak-offs were held at hotels, and the Punisher, Sheree Hayes, testified that he took part in a freak-off at the Trump International with Diddy and Cassie. Hayes laid out what he said happened during freak-offs, and these are the freak-offs he was allegedly hired to be part of. He claimed in one instance, kind of a bizarre scenario to picture, but this is what we're taking away from the transcripts and through what he was describing in testimony. Of course, there are no cameras allowed in the courtroom, but Sheree Hayes says that Sean Combs entered the room naked, only wearing what looked like a Muslim hijab, and he was carrying Astroglide. That is the lubricant that has been at the center of a lot of the descriptions of these alleged freak-offs. This week, we also saw key testimony from another major name in the music industry. Scott Mescuddy's his real name, but if you listen to music, if you're a fan, you know him as Kid Cudi. He took the stand and came in kind of a cool demeanor as he entered the courtroom. You can see he's wearing a leather jacket in this photograph of him outside the courthouse in New York. He had a cigarette in his hands before he walked in to sit on the stand, testify about what he said allegedly happened just feet away from Sean Diddy Combs. Now, what
I see when I see Kid Cudi here, right? This ain't to disrespect Kid Cudi, because like I said, we don't disrespect nobody or nothing over here at Unique Mecca Audio. But what I see is a young man that's looking at this like it's just another day. He's just throwing a jeans, a t-shirt and a leather jacket. It's just another day to go bury another black man. Not saying that he should or he shouldn't testify. I'm not weighing in on that. But what I'm saying is, it's not like he took it serious enough to say, let me put on a suit because this is an important day in my life. So he's showing that this day means nothing to him. Like when we go to court, all right, let's ride. When we get arrested, we go to court. The first thing we do is we put on a suit to try and let them see another side of us, to let them know that we respect the courtroom, that we respect the procedure. But you think that we're going to go to trial? Picture Diddy in trial wearing a leather jacket and t-shirt. How would you view that? That's how I'm breaking down how I view Kid Cudi coming in a leather jacket and t-shirt. Just another day. Let me run in. I'm going to bury Diddy, give him his testimony, blow him up. You know what I mean? Like he blew my car up. This is my chance to get my get back. And he's sitting there looking like, yeah, which one of these stories I'm going to tell him and how am I going to embellish it to make it even more believable so that he could never come home and then I could possibly get back with Cassie. Because right now she's vulnerable. Because it's a question mark. The question mark is her husband remaining with her after hearing that she's been urinated on, allegedly asked to be urinated on, had sores in the mouth and everything else that her husband is hearing. I want all of y'all out there listening, if this was your partner, to you male and females listening, if you heard that for the first time in court about your partner, how would you feel and how would you react to that? Let's be honest. I think that's a deep question because her husband have to now go home and look at him when he hold it, thinking if he's touching, ooh, like we touching pee or something. You understand? When he goes to kiss her, he see her go to kiss the baby, she's thinking all kinds of crazy thoughts. Why would he stay with her? Why should he stay with her? And why is he staying with her? See, I'm not picking sides. I'm just giving y'all two sides of it to look at it. Why is he or why would he stay with her? Because bottom line, can it be 20 million reasons from the last lawsuit plus a little 10 million right before she went on 30 million? Does that sound like, for y'all listening now, I'm asking y'all this, for y'all listening now, how would you be able to walk away from the 30 million because your woman got a little pee on her? I mean, you know, basically that's how you have to justify to your mind that it's just a little pee to be able to get around it. I was just a little cold sore. You know, it went away. It never came back. You know, it's all right. 30 million, I can deal with it. Now let's say she didn't have a dime or a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Would he feel the same? That's my question. If she was dead broke and he sat there and heard this testimony, y'all listening, that's another part of the question to you. If your lover, your husband was dead broke and you walked in the courtroom and you heard this type of behavior was coming from your lover, how would you respond? This is so deep and serious. Because I'm tapping into your mind now, because these are the things that I think. I'm sitting here looking at the dude, and you know how when, you know, somebody come over the house and kiss your baby and, you know, you look up and you see them look like they're going to kiss your baby on the mouth, and you're like, whoa, I don't know where your mouth been. These are the thoughts that will come in my mind if I'm hearing these things about my wife, my woman. And now I want you to put in the comments what would come in your mind. You remember, right? Let's ride. I relax with the wheels. Because just like, you know, this came to my mind about Love and Hip Hop, right? I think it was Kurt Frost was there with his mother-in-law, and his mother-in-law went to kiss his baby with Rashid on the mouth, and Kurt said, stop, I don't know where your mouth been. But now Cassie's husband knows where her mouth has been. If you knew your lover's mouth was where her mouth was and you found out for the first time in the courtroom, how would you really feel about that? I just want to just bring these thoughts to your mind to let you know that this is how serious this is. So there's no joking, man, about this. If Diddy did any one of these things, he should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Let me say that for the record. That's why he's going to trial. And that's why I said let the evidence play out. Now the evidence is playing out. You're hearing that Cassie was orchestrating things, setting up things, wearing a wig, wearing disguise, didn't want people to know who she was, you know, was taking drugs, buying drugs, getting her own drugs, you know, he leave drugs in the bathroom. If she wanted, she'd get up and get it. I didn't hear any hold her down and stick anything down her mouth or in her arm. That's what I hear when I hear the control, but I understand that there's a psychological part that the females know way more about than me. So I'm not trying to disrespect the females. I'm just speaking from what I know. And if there's a female out there that could explain this, from a woman's point of view. And I have a couple of clinical psychiatrists that dealt with me to see why I was screwed up. I'm going to see if they'll weigh in on this, and I'm going to have a conversation with them about this, where I'm letting them know from a real man street point of view that just don't give a crap, because that's how 90% of the men out there is. And I'm not saying that all men is like that, but 90% don't really care. They get in a relationship, start having ex, the ex is good, then the woman say we're in a committed relationship, and now, they just go along with it and, figure that I should get over it. And then before you know it, a month go by, then 6 months go by, then before you know it, she's celebrating an anniversary. It's like, whoa, I was just hitting it. It was good for the moment. Why would it get here? I'm just letting you know how we think for real. And that's when a unique man would say, hold up, pause. What do you mean anniversary? Oh, we've been together for a year. Now we've been effing for a year. How you gonna say it like that? Because that's what it is. Oh, you're so rude. You're so raw. You so... Yes, I know. And you knew that when I was effing you a year ago. So don't bring that crap about no anniversary over to me. I don't want to hear none of that. I know y'all don't like me saying it, but like I'm saying it, but I'm just letting you know that's how it is. And if more men did that with the women, let them know anniversary. Oh, girls say, oh yeah, you didn't celebrate my birthday. You didn't give me nothing for my birthday. So, that was my birthday. I gave you something for your birthday. All right, then you chose to. I forgot to get you something. What you want? I get you something. Oh, see, that's the point. You're supposed to pick a gift. Hold up. I don't feel that I have to give you a gift. But being that you're whining and crying about a gift, I'll get you a gift. But I'm not obligated to get you a gift just because I'm hitting it. You're not the only female that I'm hitting. I don't remember y'all's birthday. But if you remind me, I'll gladly get you something. Oh, you don't remember my birthday? No, listen, let me get this clear, because it's somewhere along the line you're misinterpreting what I'm saying. So let me just say it in my own unique way. I don't give a crap about your birthday. Only person happy you was born is your mother, your family, your friends, but we're just boning partners. I met you in the club. I met you in Kmart. I met you in wherever. They don't have Kmart anymore. It's Walmart now. You see what I'm saying? I'm back in time. And I know y'all gonna dog me out in the comments, but I'm just letting you know where I'm at with it. You know what I mean? But now, that's where my mind was as far as when I was on the street. So that's what I'm speaking to. But now, as the mature 61-year-old man, I remember the birthdays. And I remember to bring gifts, and I remember to bring roses. I'm going to give you a funny one. It was Mother's Day, and my daughters and my sister came over. And I went out and got, it was late. So, I forgot. I'm going to keep it one. I went out and saw somebody selling roses, coming over there by Riverside and 168th Street by Presbyterian Hospital, and they were selling single roses. So I bought 4 roses for the 4 women that was there, and I had other stuff in the car. I think I went to the flea market that day. Then when I came home, I took the stuff out the car, and I forgot to even take the roses out. I forgot to even give them the roses. I didn't remember the roses until the next day. You know what I mean? So the next day I bring the roses in and, clip the little ends, and I'll put them in a thing, and I'll put up on the counter. And can you believe, right? And this is a true story. Can you believe that I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm so cold that none of that means nothing to me. I'm just being 100. That I didn't even tell them up to this day. And we had the 28th, that, hey, I bought you the 4 roses, but I left them in the car. Because I felt that being that I missed the moment, you know what I mean? None of that meant nothing after that. I know that's cold. And if roses is still up there, believe it or not, those roses living longer than any other rose I ever brought in, because I always bring roses in. I love roses. I love the smell of roses in the house. Call me whatever, but that's where we at. Let's get back to Kid Cudi, man.
Once on the stand, Kid Cudi talked about Combs allegedly breaking into his house in 2011 when Combs allegedly found out that Kid Cudi was dating Cassie. Then in January 2012. And this
Cassie got them going crazy, right? You think Cassie got them going crazy?
Is a key moment, perhaps, in this entire trial. Kid Cudi says that his Porsche was lit on fire. And
man, come on, Kid Cudi. First thing I see is a dude from the street. Let's say he bring me a joint. I say, yo, Nick, look how you burnt my car up. You know what I mean? And I look, I say, dog, just a little burn mark. Get that poster you got to fix that. That's nothing. Why would you bring that to me? You know, here go $2,000. Go fix the seat. Get out my face with that. Then he shows me the roof. I'll be like, yo, now you're pushing it, dog. I done gave you money for the seat. You take on the roof, dog. I ain't gonna be doing the whole damn car. You know what you did. You're lucky I'm even giving you that. I'm just giving you that because I don't want you to think that I was acting off for emotions. So I'm gonna just pay for mine. But I just wanted to teach her a lesson and let her see that I ain't no joke. And I give you $2,000 to teach her that lesson. You know, that's where that type of mentality is totally wrong. Let me say that. But I just want to let you know where it's at. Dude, bring the car to you and say, look what he did, dog. Come on, he got a look like you burnt it with a cigarette. You know, hollering like a cigarette. Man, you could have just dropped the cigarette there, forgot it was there, and went inside and just burnt the joint. Then you came out. Man, you probably put that out by just blowing on it. Stop it, Cudi. It's Cudi, stop it. I'm not giving you nothing for the car. But Diddy was so gangster that when Cudi came to him and said, yo, what about my car? Diddy said, what car? You made a big deal out of it. Like the car's totaled, so why are you talking about it? Go get the money from insurance and get out my face. Yo, Cassie, come on, we out of here. You know what I mean? But that's just how gangster it moves. So if y'all can't really deal with it angry at what I'm saying, man, I don't know what to tell you. I just got to give it to you raw, man, you know.
And the government presented these pictures to the jury, showing them what Kid Cudi's Porsche looked like after the fire.
Yo, Cudi, look at it, man. That looked like you got mad and punched the roof, dog. You sure the fire did that? Yo, Cudi, you sure the fire? And he's like, yo, you can see I was burnt. Maybe you had your cigarette in your hand when you punched through it, Cudi. And you're talking to him like he's stupid. He's like, no, but look at my roof. Then look at him and just be like, yo, Cudi, check it out, right? I'm not giving you nothing for your car. And like Big C from the Supreme Team said, I wipe my with your feelings. So I don't want to hear nothing about how you feel about your car. Your car's gone, dog. It's a wrap. You know what I mean? I got the girl back. We moving forward. End the story.
You can see in this picture the large hole in the roof of his car. Now, Combs and Ventura officially broke up in 2018, but by this point, if you've been following this trial, you know how toxic and tumultuous this relationship was. It was on again, off again, officially ending in 2018, but for a period of time, Cassie was talking with Kid Cudi.
And Cassie get a round of applause for knowing how to get that $20 million out that. Cassie's the best that done it during this generation. We're going to see who's going to tap Cassie. Cassie's the best that done it for this generation. She went out and got 20 million. She didn't expect all this that came with it, but she got 20 million. That's why there's good, bad coming with it. You know, that's karma. You know, I'm not saying nothing bad about Cassie. I said karma in her name, so I understand YouTube and how the rap bastards and the flip-flop wearing in public trolls feel, you know, and think. I understand you crabs now, but check, right? You know, when I say that, I mean, it's like, it's hard, man.
Testified at the start of the trial that her claims of abuse by Combs went on for years. She detailed about what went on during these so-called freak-offs. These are central to the government's case. Combs's trial is expected to last another month at least.
Okay, again, was he charged with domestic violence or putting his hands on Cassie? That's my question to you, because we heard they ignored 2 weeks of this. And now we're hearing about all these drugs. Again, he's not charged with. No one is charged with drugs, but I did 26 and a half years for drugs. I don't understand this. Somebody explain this to me. Could it be the deal that the drug mule copped out to that's preventing him from being in a court? Oh, I'm just asking.
He's charged with racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty. Joining us now is former Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Eastern and Southern District of New York, where this case is being tried, Barrett Berger, thank you for taking the time to be with us here on Law and Crime. There's been a lot of talk about Sean Combs's drug use over the past couple of days. What stands out to you in that testimony?
Let me say this before she goes. This is the part of the joint I like, where I get to talk about the legal part of, what's going on with the case. I'm gonna break it down so y'all understand. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually turned into a pretty central part of the prosecution's case. So the allegations that make the drug use particularly relevant are that this is one way that Combs exerted control over both Cassie Ventura and potentially other victims as well. We haven't heard from them yet. But part of the way that he was able to make Cassie compliant during these freak-offs, we learned this from her testimony.
Compliant? When they showed the freak tape, they had testimony that she was a willing participant, and now you're saying that a willing participant was compliant? I think they was compliant because they was a participant. If I'm wrong, put in the comments. I'm just keeping it raw. I'm just keeping it raw so y'all understand. Because she's saying that, compliant, and Cassie testified about making phone calls, concealing the information, picking out who she wanted, picking out where she wanted to do that, and even picking up Baby Earl on certain instances, But now she's saying that she was compliant. That's a hell of a compliant, But, let's get back to this.
Is through the use of drugs. So Cassie testified that for many of the freak-offs, she was high. She was given a number of different narcotics.
She was given and had a choice to take or not take as an adult, and I'm not defending her. I'm just letting you know how we look at it from the street point of view, cut and dry. Man offer you drugs, you say no. You don't take it and they say you got me addicted. No, you took it. You chose to take it. What happens after that?
And other witnesses that came in and testified about seeing her, laying on a bed, appearing to be under the influence of some sort of drugs. So this was what we're seeing now is a pattern of Combs being able to, in some instances, control her through many different ways. But one of the central ways that we've heard testimony about is through these drugs.
Can you believe this? Did you hear what she just said? And we heard and read the same transcripts and testimony that she heard, as far as Cassie saying that she went and got the drugs on her own as well. She never, man, I'm not gonna get in it, but this is just funny.
How do you feel the government's been able to say that Cassie was more forced to take these drugs, as opposed to she lived as a someone who is in kind of the spotlight? You live that mentality where there's drugs that's always around, showing that she was actually forced to take it as opposed to something that she just did willingly.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is what the defense has really made as the centerpiece of their defense, that none of this was forced or coerced behavior. This was all activity that she did voluntarily, that she wanted access to this lifestyle. She wanted access to his power, to the fame. And so she did these things voluntarily. I think what the prosecutors have to show is that there was not only this huge power dynamic between the two of them, right? He is this, multi-million-dollar music magnate, and she is an aspiring singer who really wants to be in that orbit. There's an age dynamic. She was very young when they first started dating. But
see, now they're grasping for straws. Stick with the drugs, the abuse. But now you're going to age when all Diddy's lawyer have to do is show other older men that was with young women the age Cassie was with him, and the man was way older than Diddy, but no one speaks about that. I'm not gonna get into it with the name calling, but that's all I'm saying. That's how I would handle that, because I'm just telling you how I would defend it from a street point of view. Yeah, that's why these lawyers on the stage, you gotta get somebody on the street. The prosecutor already know, in order to convict you, they gotta get somebody from the street and turn them into a rat bastard and flip-flop wearing in public. Prosecutor knows that. I don't understand why these defense attorneys don't understand it. You got to get somebody from the street to be able to understand and can, looking for the right word, counteract what the rat bastards are saying that speak that language. All right.
also this, elements of violence and control. So I don't think that they have to show that every time she took drugs, it was involuntary.
Okay, give me one time that she herself even testified to the drugs being forced on her. Was she? I don't know. It's a question. Somebody give me it in a comment if, you know, that's what happened. Hold up, man. Hold up. Make sure y'all subscribe to my daughter's YouTube channel, man. Let's get that going.
As long as they can show that, you know, there were certain instances where she didn't want to, or that Combs was particularly insistent on this, or that this was something that he was really pushing. So they do have to connect this to this pattern of coercion and control, but they don't have to necessarily say that every time she took drugs, you know, it was totally against her will.
But you got at least show one time it was against her will. Had she testified that he forced her to take drugs at least one time against her will? Can anybody tell me in the comments if he told her that? Because that's what have to be there. I didn't hear that part of it. That's how I would go if I was a defense attorney. Y'all tell me, ladies and gentlemen of jury, did you hear it any time that she said that my client forced drugs upon her or she took it unwillingly? We understand that he made it accessible to her, but he did it to all his friends. And yes, I said friends. And I know he's a terrible friend for even offering them the drugs. Let's get that straight, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. But bottom line, what I'm getting at is this young lady chose to use drugs, chose to freak off, helped organize supervisors, set up the freak offs. And now she's sitting on the stand because if not, she'll be sitting next to my client.
And, you know, he of course, a larger than life figure, has endless amounts of money. So in some ways I could see someone saying it's not a surprise that he had just so many drugs in his home, as well as, you know, some of the...
He's a billionaire. He's going to have a lot of everything. And I'm not defending him. I'm just showing you how everybody's, this is crazy. Like they're forgetting the fact this is a billionaire. They say he got a bunch of baby oil. They said it was, like saying, all this was in it that nothing came out that was in it. But it was the big thing about the baby oil and the drugs put together. And it made everybody's perception go one way. And now they're trying to figure it out. And then when they're actually hearing these testimonies, they say, hold up. We know and we seen and we felt Cassie's pain when he kicked her. But still, what does this have to do with the RICO? He's a violent man. He's a cruel man. He should be punished for the domestic violence for putting his hands on that woman. Come on, dog.
The other, you know, baby oil's been talked about at length in this case. But were you surprised by just how much it was talked about that apparently he was regularly using substances, that he himself was someone who partook in these drugs a lot, according to people who were around him?
Yeah, he was a dope fiend too. Basically, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's surprising for many of us to hear about how pervasive that was, and how much of a factor in their lifestyle this was. But, you know, one thing that's interesting to me is it really goes to this idea of what kind of a network he had around him. He was certainly not able to get all these drugs on his own. He had assistants and guards and people that worked with him that were able to help him procure drugs on a regular basis. This is going to help the prosecutors go to one of, I think, the biggest hurdles that they're going to have to prove here, is the idea that this was an enterprise. Remember, one of the things they've charged is a racketeering conspiracy. In order for this to be racketeering, there has to be an enterprise. It can't just be one person doing this on his own. It's a little tricky when you only have one person sitting there in the defendant's chair, right? He's the only person charged right now. So it's a little hard to show that it's an enterprise. And one way that they're going to have to show that is by, you know, drawing out people that worked for him, what they did to help advance this racketeering enterprise, including helping Combs buy these drugs that were then used both recreationally by Combs, but also to help facilitate these freak-offs.
Yeah, and it's not only just drugs. I mean, there's images that we've seen of like white powder, for example, drugs that you would assume are not legal, but then there's prescription drugs that he was able to get. And typically for folks that aren't music moguls, your doctor's not going to give you that amount of certain drugs. Cassie's testimony from what we've heard from our reporter in the courtroom, it was incredibly raw. It was incredibly emotional. She's been described by many as the star witness in this case. What do you make of the decision to have her go? And I know she's 8.5 months pregnant, so her availability probably factors into this as well. But for her to go early in this case and kind of set the tone as opposed to building up your case and then having her come in as somewhat of a grand finale at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was probably a decision that was part strategic and part practical. I mean, when you have a witness that is pregnant, could theoretically give birth any day, you want to make sure that you get them in before they become unavailable.
See, that's a bull crap. That's bull crap, man. I sat back long enough to listen. That's bull crap. Because bottom line is, they said the trial's going to last 8 weeks. That 2 months, even if she has the baby now, 2-3 weeks from now, she still have a whole 3-4 weeks to recuperate and then take the stand at the end of the trial. But what they want to do was put the most damaging testimony out there to strike the emotions of the people by showing that Diddy was a violent son of a... and then drive the trial like that. But see, where that may backfire on them is we may forget about Cassie's testimony after hearing all these and these and these and these, and then they're going to have to bring the videotape back up at the end of the closing argument and throw that in their face, but they're not going to remember nothing they heard over these 8 weeks. But they could have easily used at the end to make that the last testimony to cap it off. And that's what I would have done. But they're the professionals. But that's how I would have done it. I would have saved Cassie for the end. Had everybody else tell everything because everybody's waiting on Cassie. We done lost the interest in the trial because, you know, unless they get another big name like Cassie, you know, or Diddy, you know, Usher, Bieber, that's what everybody's waiting on. But none of that is happening, you know? So that's where it's at, man. Let's get back to this, but y'all understand where I'm at with that, right?
Let's be honest, it also doesn't hurt their case to have a witness that is pregnant. You could tell that the defense, you know, was a little bit more cautious with her. I think they treated her with a little bit more respect and probably went a little easier on her because of the fact that she's pregnant. It's not a great look to see defense counsel beating up on somebody who's 8.5 months pregnant. So there probably was some of just the practical, you know, let's get this in before she becomes unavailable side to the decision. But also, you know, when I was a prosecutor, we always you want to start strong and you want to end strong. Anything that's kind of boring, troublesome, you kind of want to bury in the middle of your case. For them, Cassie's a really important witness because she can speak to, you know, this many years of what happened during this racketeering conspiracy. She was there, you know, with Combs and a part of his life throughout, you know, most of the charged time period. And she can speak to a lot of the, you know, various racketeering incidents that have been charged, but she can also give a very good overview of what he was like as a person. You know,
and that's why I would have used it for the end. I got to run, just got an important phone call. So make sure you subscribe to my daughter's YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. This video was not to disrespect anyone, just giving a street perspective.
Cheers, cheers, the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was wine. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spin a couple bands on the dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. Baby horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now you trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours, so we can give back to the. Cheers, 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 the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Let's go. Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, make an audio.
Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio. And we gon' do it like we gon' do it like